Yeah, we've had very strong reactions both from NATO and from the European Union, both of which Romania is a member of. A NATO spokesperson saying that this is reckless by Russia. Clearly, the message we're getting from both the EU and NATO is that they do believe that this is not an accident and that that this is a Russian drone, despite Russia's denials of that. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that Russia has crossed yet another line, and the EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, said that Moscow cannot be allowed to keep violating EU airspace with impunity. And the reason she's saying that is, even though this is the first drone that has struck something in Romania, this is not by any means the first Russian drone that's entered Romanian airspace. The Romanian government has said this has happened countless times, and they're not alone. This has also happened in Poland, in the Baltics. We've even had suspected Russian drones here in Western Europe, here in Belgium, in Denmark. And so what Kaja Kallas is really referring to there is that what this may have been is yet another of these Russian incursions that maybe went wrong and accidentally crashed into a building. But right now they don't know what is the purpose of all these drone overflights. Is it for surveillance, or is Russia testing NATO's resolve? Is this kind of feeling out how strong of a response NATO and the EU gives when these things happen?
And the answer to that, I guess, must be being worked out right now in Brussels, very close to you at the NATO headquarters, with Mark Rutte and chiefs of staff looking, as you said, there's been overflights before, last year, the end of last year in Poland a number of times, but this striking a civilian apartment block, 2 people injured, a woman and a daughter, we believe. To the point now, what's your take on the options on the table for Mark Rutte? Because if it is a probing operation, and we're seeing incrementally this being an issue according to intelligence service in Europe, these are moments where Moscow takes note, Dave, aren't they?
Exactly. And if this is Moscow testing the EU and NATO's resolve, then the NATO will want to be shown to have a strong response if this is Russia testing to see if NATO is ready to defend all of its territory. But at the same time, they will have a real fear of escalation. And that's when the Article 4 question comes in that you were asking about. Does Romania trigger that Article 4? That's not as serious as Article 5, obviously. It's more about consultations, but does that risk escalating the situation? And I think we could see some of that hesitation from both NATO and EU leaders here, not wanting to escalate this. This is not really the worst drone incursion situation we've had. That situation in Poland where you had a whole bunch of Russian drones come into Polish airspace and they were shot down with these incredibly expensive missiles. It was actually quite embarrassing for NATO because it showed that they lacked the anti-drone technology that should be used to shoot down drones, not these millions of euros aircraft that are meant to anti-aircraft systems that are meant to shoot down planes. So I think they're trying to strike a balance here to both react forcefully but not escalate the situation. It's the same thing we saw when we saw that drone incursion into Poland.
Well, we're there, Dave, and we'll hear shortly from Romania's foreign minister coming up on the programme. But it's been a good day, something else you've been following. A good day for Peter Magyar, Hungary's new prime minister, the former insider turned anti-corruption campaigner, swept the board, landslide at the elections just last month. Suddenly, his luck appears to be in with EU set to unlock funding. Let's have a listen to him, what he said today.
I'm really grateful for you personally and all of your colleagues who made a tremendous work and job. You know, we just started the negotiations 5 weeks ago, and now we are here. Just after 3 weeks, the new Hungarian government was formed, and we have achieved already a historic breakthrough.
So this, after you've covered this a lot over the years, after famously thorny relations between Budapest and Brussels, what shifted the dial here, Dave? What have the EU seen, and what is Hungary likely to get as a result?
Yeah, this was a surprisingly good result for Peter Magyar, because in the days leading up to this meeting, we kept hearing that the Commission wasn't sure if it was going to release all of this money because there were voices within the Commission that felt that the Commission was too quick to release the frozen funds to Poland 2 years ago when the new government of Donald Tusk came in, unseating the far-right government that had made Poland subject to those measures. But they released that funds before the reforms had actually been carried out. And so the fear here was that if if they do that again, you don't give the country the motivation to actually complete these reforms. So in the days leading up, it looked like the Commission might not be releasing all of this money, but then it was a surprise announcement today. Yes, all 16 billion going to Hungary. That's 10 billion from pandemic recovery funding and 6 billion for cohesion funds. Those are funds meant to bridge the gaps in inequality between EU member states. Magyar himself looked very, very happy about this. He was joking that if he always gets about this amount of money when he comes to Brussels, he'll come here all the time. But President von der Leyen said that the Hungarian people had earned this and that they had chosen democracy and chosen to be back at the center of Europe with their election results. So I think at the end of the day, even though there was some concern about giving away this money too easily before the reforms have actually been carried out, at the end of the day, the Commission was very keen to send a message to the Hungarian people that they could be rewarded for the votes that they took at that election.
Dave, is this an oxymoron? Famously, people might say there is sunshine in Brussels today. It's, according to some analysts, one of the most grey places in Europe. What's going on?
It just got cloudy actually, and now it's getting very windy as well because it's about to rain apparently, and it's going to rain all night. So that was our summer, I think, this week. I think it was also quite sunny in Paris.
Great to talk to you as always, Dave. Dave Keaty, our correspondent in Brussels. Now let's move to Washington, where